This vehicle here looks bold, but it's actually tiny in the exterior dimensions. But at the same time, the rear bench is probably one of the most spacious ones considering the exterior length. So much to tell you about the Kia EV2. Is it one of the best propositions now as for an affordable, small and SUV style electric vehicle? We're going to find out with Thomas and Autogo Fuel in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. Also a competitor to the VW ID Cross, which is also coming up. Let's see what this one can do. Already a very bold front, as I said, in the styling of the larger EV SUVs at Kia. Even, let's say, a tiny EV9 from the styling. Always LED technology in the main headlamps. Frost blue is this vehicle color. We'll soon also take a look under the hood because this one does get a frunk indeed. And the exterior dimensions, as I said, it's a small vehicle, 4 meters and 6 or 160 inches. And you have this box design indeed to have a cool look on the exterior, but at the same time, a lot of space on the interior. Flush door handles, by the way, if I would close the vehicle, they would be, hidden there. But then here, that's very important to me. Then here they are manual. That's actually then good. But I prefer the very, very classic door handles, honestly. Wheels, 16 or optional 18-inch. As you can see here, the GT line would exclusively get 19-inch, so a little bit larger GT line then with less here contrasting applications in the, in this brighter scheme. GT line always with more black accentuations and a more, like the sportier, stronger style. In the rear, you can see, special thing is that the lamps are really, really, really low. That's something you have to get used to, is also where the indicators appear, for example. So I like this boxy style with the real low tail lamps. Yeah, you have to get used to it, definitely. Or what's your take on that? Technology-wise, and as for the battery and so on, so this one will be always front-wheel drive, and you start with a smaller battery, which is at 42 kilowatt hours. They also now use the usable figures for that actually, and it's at 8.7 seconds in the acceleration figure, or the bigger battery, 61 kilowatt hours and 9.5 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. For the bigger battery, the WLTP cycle is around 450 kilometers. That would be like city use only. I would expect with a bigger battery, motorway use with not too high speeds, maybe some 300 kilometers, 190 miles of a realistic motorway range. I always give like more conservative range estimates, but of course more when we can drive this one for you very soon. For that, by the way, when we do some static reviews, always be sure that you're subscribed and have the notification bell activated. Then you do not miss the driving review of this vehicle here as well. Very important because, especially with the electric vehicles, it's always important how does it drive, how's the charging and so on, does everything work, communication between the charging station and the car. This is always a crucial thing with electric vehicles. And talking about charging, AC charging will be first time also available 22 kilowatt. Leah says I should go to the other side. Why should I? It's probably because the charging flip is there. Good that Leah is always with us here, right? So 11 kilowatt is standard and optional 22 kilowatt then. It's the first time at Kia, pretty cool. And here DC charging is also available, will be around 100 kilowatt, not too much, but they promise a pretty even charging curve. By the way, also cool that they have like this just manual open like this. In the front is also very practical. If you have like a basement garage charging, you park forward and then you have like the wall box hanging here, for example. DC charging will be around then 30 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge. Battery is not too large, but of course in this segment here you have to keep the price down. Soon more about the price because this one will be very interesting for sure. Yeah, and they say you want to keep like this 100 kilowatt around like that for a long period of time because the customers of the small EVs, they say rather start charging like 30% or something and charge to 80%, something like that. It is more something, of course, that you maybe charge at home at the wall box and often do the AC charging. That's why they said that the 22 kilowatt AC charging was also so important to them. Then let's check out the frunk. Got something under the hood there. There we go. There's a good door closing sound, soon more to that as well. There we go. Here. We do have a frunk. It's a small one, pretty shallow. This Yeah, this could, you can also remove this one and clean it, for example. So if you put a small charging cable in there in a very flat way, let's take it that way, and then here can you like refill the fluids and so on. And this is here the normal 12-volt battery. As you might know, all electric vehicles still have the classic 12-volt battery to keep like the safety low voltage thing for all the interior, auxiliary things and so on. There we go. It's actually yeah, good closing sounds, front, side, rear, and I can really tell you that the rear bench will be the highlight of this vehicle because it will come as 5-seater or 4-seater. This one is 4-seater, but I also tested the 5-seater earlier, which is really interesting. I can promise. Check out first of all the doors again. Very solid how it sounds. That's nice. The front even better, definitely. Then this one here is the earth trim. There will be an entry-level trim, and the earth trim, middle trim, and there's then the GT line. And I can also talk about the different seats, how they will look like soon about that. What they all have in common is here the front part is rather hard pack. Then you have a soft elbow pad here. This is interesting. Here you can reach through the lower part for bigger bottles. It's an interesting idea to make the cut here. Nice cover from this optional Harman Kardon sound system. Then classic window controls and so on, and how you control the outside mirror. That's nice. And when you leave the car again, you says here like have a nice day. this a funny idea just to be like a little bit joyful. This is pretty cool, by the way. The heated steering wheel, heated seats with rear buttons. Oh, by the way, if you wonder what's this blind button here, if you have the GT line with the high-grade leatherette perforation, then you also get the seat cooling, and that would be here on the lower part. On the top part here, maybe Leah can come around. Here, this is where it says hello when you enter the vehicle or when you look at it from the outside. Or hello.
Can you change it?
With the classic. No, that's always hello. Yeah.
Cool, right?
Or maybe change to the specific language of the custom. That's nice. Oh, and what I also see here, you have, at least already here in this trim, that's cool, the dual glazing here, lamination front window. Let's check it out, and if it's in the, not in the rear, but I mean, at this segment, it's astonishing that we do have it in the front. We have some premium vehicles, also from the Germans, which are maybe like a triple that price and don't have that. So, good to have it here. And then, as I said,
Yeah, could you leave a message for your husband or wife? That
yeah,
would be
yeah,
nice,
like
right?
leaving an individual message. You know, when you enter the vehicle in the morning, that would be a good idea, actually. You know, like don't forget your breakfast or something like that.
I love you.
Yeah, or I love you. Yeah, exactly. Then here the earth trim has a mix of fabric here, and like with this special padding, and high-grade leatherette on the top part, perforation. This is also how the GT line would look on the whole seat, but in different colors actually. This is a first hand-built car. That's why you might excuse that the fabric doesn't look that great, but it will be looking like the outside part then later on. The base fabric seat we also filmed earlier has a gray fabric to it. It's also nice. I really like the head restraint because it's here super plush and soft. You can really relax your head there, as it says head restraint. That will be pretty cool. And by the way, you see this yellow color there in the middle console, and you maybe also saw that on the inside of the door. This is connected to the earth trim, and you don't have to go for it. I'm honestly also not a fan of this one because it reminds me honestly a little bit of someone left some cigarettes here for a couple of years in it. Sorry, gotta say that that way. So it's something unique, and some might like it. Oh, wait a minute. When I was a child, there were these small monster figures coming up, and they were glowing in the dark. You know, like this thing. Not sure if it's really healthy to let children play with it. Yeah, or these stars you can put on the wall, and they have this color that they glow in the dark.
But that would be nice if they would
If
glow
it would,
in the dark.
if it would glow in the dark, that would be pretty cool, right? Yeah, maybe the Kia product managers can remember that. Yeah, but when you don't like this color, you can go for the base trim. You have this gray fabric interior, and then you have a different color on the lower part, or on the GT line, I think is also gray. But as I said, you don't have to get it. So, and here up and down, in and out for the steering wheel, and real buttons on the steering wheel, like that. Left side for the cruise control, and also to control something in the digital instruments. Right side for the volume jog, for example. Then you have these pedals here for the recuperation settings that you can use, like the one pedal driving or less recuperation. Fabric covering here of the dashboard and 2 times 12.3 inch. I would say we take a spin around here with the camera to get the other perspective. So especially with their latest electric vehicles, Kia is really also into circular economy and sustainability. So they use a lot of recycling share in the materials and sometimes even bio share, for example, with the high-grade leatherette. And it's really soft and nice. And as I said, will be looking similar in the GT line, which will be probably the most spectacular version then to come up later. And it's good comfort here. Consider it's a tiny vehicle, but already for tall people it's good comfort, and especially the head restraints, because they're so plush. Sometimes you just say, I just relax, or maybe when you want to wait at a charging stop or something like that, it's really good to, yeah. So this, like, I think I have 2 favorite features. The one is here the head restraint, and the main feature will be the rear bench coming up. It will be worth the while to spend, the time on this whole review, definitely. Here, the dashboard continues here with the fabric. Then on top of that is rather hard pack. We have a nice ambient lighting. You can also change the colors underneath. Glove box is right here. Not sure if these will be the final materials. Sometimes these hand-built first vehicles are a little bit more simple in there. We'll keep you updated on that, definitely. Good that we have the manual climate control, 2-zone AC. So you can easily change the temperature while driving without having your view there. So you can look straight forward, just go down here and minus and plus, and don't even have to look at it. That's actually pretty cool. As I said, 12.3, 12.3, and in the middle 5 inch. This is also another screen where you can, for example, activate the sync for the climate or activate where the air is blowing from. Could use that also here, but it's easier to do that down there, definitely. And the infotainment system, you can get it in high trim or optional with the car internal GPS. That is possible. However, base versions will have it without car internal GPS, and then you just use your smartphone connection. And I think that's totally fine, because most users of this car will probably also use their own smartphones then for the connection here of this vehicle. And then they want to keep the price lower for the entry level versions. That's like the thought behind it. Manual volume jog here, by the way, also in the central part. It's also good to have that you don't have to do everything in the screen. So I think very good balance between digital and hard key stuff. Lower part, even 100 watt USB-C charging. That's pretty cool. And here's then for the connection. Here another 12 volt.
Maybe later.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I mean, that's probably like in this hand-built first vehicle, because usually they pop out pretty easily. Inductive charging bit in lower part. This is not ventilated though, so the smartphone might overheat there. I would always use then the cable charging.
What is this?
No, that's nothing.
Okay.
That's, yeah, but thanks for trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then here you can remove this one here to have more space, or another cup holder. And again, this yellow color. Yeah, it's connected to this trim. If you don't like it, pick a different trim then. Nice ambient lighting integration here in the lower part though. Then we have some space underneath the armrest, goes in there. Yeah, but again, already a lot of space in the front. By the way, to start the vehicle, here's a button underneath the steering wheel, and then drive forward, reverse, and park at the side. And there's also here a small glass roof, and this one does open and lets fresh air in. So that's actually good to know. We rarely have that with EVs nowadays, but this one does offer one. So kudos also to that. There we go. Also nice fabric from the inside everywhere. Door handles, by the way. Oh, we leave this one open for the light. Door handles, 1, 2, 3. So just the driver doesn't have one. Well, I can hold on to the steering wheel, but the rest of the passengers beware when I'm driving. No, I'm usually a very defensive driver, right? That's the part where you have to nod Leah. She doesn't.
No one.
No, I'm disappointed. Please support me. That you say, you know my videos, I'm always a defensive driver, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not on the racetrack, but even there, I think. Come on, guys. Now the rear vents, because this is my favorite part. So just like a couple of minutes ago, I took a seat in the 5-seater. Can also use some overlay shots right there. And the interesting thing is that here in the 4-seater, the difference is I can move the bench. 5-seater, fixed bench. And with the 5-seater, I was sitting like this from the knees. And why is that? If you compare the 5 and the 4-seater, this one's the option here, it's more expensive. In the 5-seater, the bench is in this position, means it's like in the middle position. The 4-seater, you can slide even more forward for more trunk length. You can see the difference then here between all the way back and all the way front. But you can also slide it more backward. So as I said here, the 5-seater is in this position. And when I put all the way back here, look at that. I'm driving there as a tall person with like the seat pretty much behind, you know, and also the inclination and so on. And this is a lot of space for a car that is, yeah, just over 4 meters long, like just about 160 inches. That is astonishing and really great here with the slidable bench. And since it's also a 4-seater, they say it has like reasons like to house all the like rails and mechanisms and so on. But I think it's an advantage that you have the 4-seater here, because look at that. This is such a wide seat. This is a seat like in a in a luxury rear sedan or something from the width, you know. So extremely wide the seat because it's just 4. The other one you could also sit in the middle, but only theoretically. By the way, here also interesting, you can hold on tight. Like when you exit the vehicle, you could, or enter the, you can hold on tight here.
For your jacket.
Or for the jacket, yeah, you can use it as a jacket hanger. That's also good. You have USB-C charging here as well.
And 100 watt. Wow.
Also 100 watt. That's cool on both sides. And in the lower part, you have a real power socket. That's pretty cool. And I mean, it's an EV, but it has the SUV style. But you see here, like the angle of my knees or my legs, not too bad actually. So the floor is not. And you can also put my feet under the front seat. That's easily done. No problem as for that. As for the headroom, even the one with the panoramic roof, it's no problem. 189, 6'2", enough space left. And here with the 4-seater, I can also, there we go, I can also change the inclination here of the back part. It's also not possible in the 5-seater. And I mean by that, there's not much trunk left. But sometimes when you just drive people around, I mean, think about that you can drive with, yeah, almost with 4 Michael Jordans in here. This is at least with 4 Thomases, right? That's pretty cool. So, yeah. This is really amazing. Yeah. Isofix here on the outside each, and one thing on this earth fabric thing. And yeah, I mean, this will of course be predominantly used also in city driving, and therefore you have a very good relaxed rear. This could be also something, you know, when I think about you know, grandpa and grandma, they are over 90 years old meanwhile, and glad that, you know, they're still with us on like on the mother's side, because on my father's sides, yeah, sadly everyone passed away meanwhile. And when you think about it, when we drive them around or something, and we drive with 4 people, they could easily get in and out here, and they would have a lot of space. Grandpa, you know, has a bad knee meanwhile, and he could still, you know, easily get in and out, and has a lot of space here actually in the rear, even if we are sitting in the front as tall adults. So that's probably the most special thing about this car for sure. Here, the inside of the doors, by the way, also says again, have a nice day. So 4 times, like every passenger here is supposed to have a nice day when you exit the vehicle. That's neat, right? Then here, hardback once again, the inside of the door. Also, the rear doors have this access to larger bottles in the lower part. I think they spend a lot of time with, you know, researching these small ideas, and that's a pretty cool thing. And now, of course, the thing is, how much trunk is there left at all? So we have a manual hatch right here. That's pretty cool. I mean, I don't need an electric hatch in this vehicle. It also has good closing sound. And just let's take a look what we have left in here when we put everything. Yeah, this is the most far behind position as I just had, like this. So then I have this tiny cover here. There's not much left here, but that's the thing with the flexibility of this vehicle, you know. So underneath you have some space still, just like the. Also for charging can be possible. This is the V2L adapter that you can also access some stuff on the outside and with it. These are some clips, by the way, to store these here, and I can show that to you. So remember this position. Now I can make this one here. Could be maybe like for an umbrella or for a jacket, like this, and they are being held here. And then I can remove these here, turn them around, and clip them in here. I've never done that before, so it's a good test. This is easily done and intuitive to use. So if you want to store this one, then you can just leave it like this, you know. So that's also possible. And of course we can. Why did I remove them now? Because actually when I want to remove the whole stuff, it's actually good to keep them in place here, like this and like this. Looks like, you know, like some crab hands or something like that. So like,
Live on tape.
yeah, that's live on tape, exactly. And then let's remove this. So, and once again, the difference. This is like all the way back, all the way back. So, and then let's make it like in a realistic position. And then this difference when I move one all the way in the front, like this. And suddenly the trunk becomes a different animal. Of course, you have to pay attention that stuff doesn't fly in there. As you might remember, I think we mentioned it once in a story when we were driving the EV3, which had the same color. So the one bigger brother. We went shopping and Leah brought some blueberries. And then there was some situation at a traffic light where I had to use the brakes a little bit more. And let's take it that way. After that maneuver, we had to we had to search for, I think, some 50 blueberries in the back of the vehicle. So my best advice for you today, just for life experience, if you transport blueberries, never just use like the open basket. Just put something around it, you know, like a. Yeah. So just a tip for that. The liter figures, by the way, is 360 liters for the 5-seater and 400 liters here for the 4-seater, because you can move both in the front. And then you can also remove this one. Now we come to the maximum setup, because then when I move this one here in the front, there we go. And of course, it's also possible we can fold the seats and see how much I can put it forward then. When I put the head restraints in, there we go. So that's actually very well usable. But of course, we need to measure the whole stuff now. Underneath here, by the way, even, oh, that's it. Take it that way. Subwoofer from the Harman Kardon sound system, and even more space. Oh, this is where someone from the studio hit the key fob. Well, this is a beautiful key fob indeed, like with this matte white atmosphere. So, yeah, probably someone put it there that it doesn't get lost or something. But now you also saw the key fob. But we still need to measure that stuff. So here you can see how a cabin trolley looks then in here. And the trunk length, if we put this one here forward, it would be some 25 inches or 66 centimeters. The height here underneath the cover, 34 inches, 86 centimeters. And then the length to the seat when everything is folded. So this is here about 53 inches or it's like 1 meter 35. Yeah, once again, good dimensions. And I mean, I could take like 1,000 measurements here, because it always depends on like what is the position, but I think you got a very well impression of how we can organize things with this vehicle. And by the way, I discovered this one here. Here you can put these ones here up, and then like for the blueberry protection, I mean not 100%, but here put it like this, and then also like this, and then you have it actually at least somewhat protected here, no matter if you put them forward or backward, that not too much can fall in here. Towing, by the way, 750 kilograms, and there will also be a drawbar. So you can use this one for 80 kilograms, then maybe like for the bicycle rack and so on. And now the question is, what price? So no official price is confirmed yet at the day of the shooting, but there is the aim to offer the entry-level battery below 30,000 euros. When you go for the big battery and the higher trim level, this will surely be over 30,000 euros. And it's approximately the same, like we already know the estimations from the VW ID Cross. I think the most interesting thing about this vehicle is that it has a good user value. It is suitable for the city because it's really tiny from the exterior dimensions, but has so much space on the inside considering. The only thing which is maybe not the most fun is if you live in Germany and want to do long-range highway trips with this one. That counts for almost all small EVs nowadays. And you can see from the building form, it doesn't have the best CD value. It will not be the most efficient when you drive really, really fast. But this vehicle is not for driving 180 kilometers on a motorway. The top speed here is, by the way, 160 kilometers an hour or 100 miles per hour. So yeah, that's finito then. But I think the cool thing is really that it has so much value on the inside from the space you have. And it's also nice from the materials they use and so on. Yeah, maybe not the biggest fan of the yellowish thing there, but the GT line will be pretty hot for sure. Or if you say you really want a more accessible, affordable one, then stick it with the entry-level version. This will already be fine. Just, I think, the 4-seater variant, this is the one to go for. Definitely get this option. You have so comfortable wide rear seats and also this great flexibility for legroom or more trunk space. What do you think about this? And now tune into the VW ID Cross or more small EV content here on Autogefühl.